Hi, Aston here from Aston magazine with episode 25 of Chart Watch and new release news and music biz analysis and observations. Episode 25. It's 25 weeks I've been doing this. And thank you for all your support as well, because this almost stopped after a few episodes, but it's been like a slow burn video series, but I know it's quite popular with a lot of people now. So in this one, I'm going to focus on basically just two things. I'm going to give you just an overview of the UK album charts and specifically the number one album, and look at the breakdown between CD and vinyl sales, etc. And then I'm going to have a look at Record Store Day, because I published the list on the Now Spinning magazine website, and that's been shared in quite a few places, and thank you for all your comments. And there's been quite a few things come in, and I thought I'd just go through it because not everyone's had a look, and I thought I'd just give my viewpoint of what I think about it, really. So first of all, let's look at the UK album charts. Now, number one is an album by Paramore, and this is the first rock album since Slipknot to reach the number one position. And the breakdown is there are 21,093 sales, physical sales for 15,966. So I'll just break that down. So that's 8,904 CDs and 6,420 vinyl albums, 641 cassettes, about 1,000 downloads, and 4,095 sales equivalent streams. So CDs, again, outsold the vinyl equivalent. That's the third week in a row now. That's a closer figure than last week's, but it's still more CDs than vinyl. But again, for those of you who know the Now Spinning magazine channel, I love all formats. I am multi-format man, as I now keep saying. But I just like to mention the CD sales because it's always overlooked. Now, someone said last week that, God, these sales are so low for a country of this size. Physical sales are 13.93% of the total album sales for this week. So it is a niche, and again, that's a word I use a lot. But the thing is with albums, especially rock albums, and I do see Paramore as a rock band, is that if we look back to their 2009 second album, that sold 528,000. And if you're thinking, God, that many, is that how much it's changed? Not really. A lot of these albums take off over time. So this is the number of sales in the initial first week of release. Over time, especially with rock music, things just build up. This is why you get so many kind of legacy acts in the charts. But I think that's good. And again, I would also recommend you listen to that album. It really, really is good. The album is made up of this. It's a trio. We've got 34-year-old lead singer Hayley Williams, 33-year-old guitarist Taylor York, and 32-year-old drummer Zach Faro. And the band goes back as 2005. But this is a really, really good album. So actually excellent stuff. The only other stuff in the charts I want to mention is new at number 21 is the Rolling Stones with Grrr Live. This released in 2012. Grrr got to number 3, but this is the live version, which has got to number 21 with 3,491 sales. Right, let's go and have a look now at the Record Store Day list. So this is the Record Store Day list for 2023, which starts or is on April the 22nd of this year. So I'm just going to flick through and I'll pause at some of the things that take my interest. The 1975, they've got live at the BBC Philharmonic on CD, LP and cassette. So the CD is mentioned there. I know my son Lee will be first in the queue for that. Flock of Seagulls, that's the B-sides and rarities. What else have we got that caught my eye? There's quite a lot of jazz and blues stuff this time round. Altered Images, that's a 12-inch single, I believe. We've also got some, as I say, quite a bit of Art Blakey, as I said, some really vintage and classic jazz. Baker Gervit's Army, That's on vinyl. I know that for definite. Belinda Carlisle remixes. Some great cover work as well. The Beavis Frond is a hit squad. I don't know if that's a soundtrack, is it? But Red Noise live at the De Montfort Hall, Leicester in 1979. Bill Evans' Treasures. That looks good. Black Sabbath. This looks like, see if I can bring this up separately. This is definitely a splatter vinyl version. Never Say Die. I've got this album 3 times on CD, but actually don't have a vinyl copy, so actually might be tempted to get that actually. What else? Blur, Bob Marley. Anything else that really catches my eye at this point from here? Carole King, Demos, Charlie Parker, Chet, Chuck Brown, The Cure, Cranberries. Let's have a look. David Bowie. Some of these I've looked at before. The Best of Death, which is a re-release. Dizzy Gillespie Quintet. Dolly Parton, Doctor Who, The Donners, Duran Duran, Echo and the Bunnymen, Dusty Springfield. What else? Eddie Money, The Covers. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Eddie Money. So this actually would be on my list, and this is going to be vinyl. And this is 8 cover versions that appeared on a pair of EPs on CD for the first time on vinyl. So this looks very good. Drops of Jupiter, She Came Through the Bathroom Window, It's a Long Way to the Top If You Want to Rock and Roll. That has to be AC/DC. Give Me Some Loving, Roadhouse Blues. And so, yeah, that looks my kind of thing. I must do a feature on Eddie Money, actually. Edgar Froese, A Tangerine Dream. Ages, Ellie Goulding, Don't Shoot Me, I'm the Piano Player by Elton John. Quite a bit of Elvis as well. Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Brain Salad Surgery. Some horror soundtracks by the look of it by Ennio Morricone. Yeah, classic covers. Eric Carr of Kiss, that's a double album, I know. Envy of None. What else have we got? Fake Blood. And there were some others I saw as well. Foals, Fleetwood Mac, Albatross, Frank Black. I've got my eyes on Frank Black. I've become quite a big Frank Black fan since getting the complete albums box set, I have to say, and the recent live one. What else have we got? Garbage, Witness Your Love, Generation X, reissue of their first album, Graham Bonnet lineup. I've already got that on vinyl and CD, and so I'll miss that. Angel's Egg by Gong. Goblin. Rarities, film versions and alternatives. I do like Goblin. Superior was one of the most famous soundtracks, but there's they were also very, very interesting prog band as well. So I'm quite interested in that. Groundhogs, Crosscut Saw, that's quite a rare album. Nice to see that return. GTR, that's a good album. Hawkwind, The Iron Dream, live 1977. Happy Mondays. Heroin, Howard Jones. I'm just picking out the ones that kind of catch my eye. Iced Earth, Jar Wobble, Jazz Butcher, Jerry Lee Lewis, Joan Jett and the Blackhearts on yellow vinyl, Joe Boxers, Joe Strummer. And there was something else. There's some other stuff down here. I know there was Keith Richards, Lacuna Coil. I love them as well. Landscape. I'm probably going to review that. Larry Coryell. Where was the other one? Madness, Mark Almond. And Max Romeo. Mike Oldfield. Opus 1. Mr. Ben, the music. Mr. Big, that's a classic. That's a classic album, that is, if I can get that to come up. And just 1,000 copies, 180 grams, solid blue vinyl. That is a absolutely stunning AOR melodic rock album. Muddy Waters is next to that. Nico, Nina, OCs, Paul McCartney. What else have we got? The Police, Porcupine Tree. Ooh, that looks good. That looks, what's that? Porcupine Tree. 12-inch single features never before released tracks on vinyl before, featuring tracks pulled from In Absentia and Deadwing Deluxe editions. So it's probably more completist, so I'm not probably going to go for that. But it looks very good. If you are, Rolling Stones, Beggar's Banquet. Sheena Easton, Seth Latham, Simple Minds, St. Douglas Quartet, Slade, Keep Your Hands Off My Power Supply. There's been a lot of good Slade coming out recently, has to be said. And I know Thin Lizzy are down here somewhere. Susie Quattro, Supergrass, T-Rex, Symposium. Probably going to review that. Tangerine Dream live in Paris. That will be good. Ted Nugent, Tears for Fears, Thin Lizzy. As someone who missed out on the CD box set, I'm probably going to make sure I don't miss out on this. Vinyl for the first time. Hammersmith Odeon, 14th of November, 1976. The golden time for them. Tori Amos, Little Earthquakes Rarities. Twink and Sitar Service. U2, Van Halen, Right Here, Right Now. Got that on CD. It's good, but I don't know if I want it on vinyl at this stage. The Verlaines, Violent Femmes, Virgin Prunes, Willie Dixon, and then We're There. So that's a quick look and a scan across this year's, April 22nd's Record Store Day releases. Now, I know there's a lot of us that kind of look at this and go, where's the CDs? I think, or this is just something that clogs up the normal releases for vinyl. It's a rip-off. It's a cash grab. You could look at it like that if you wanted to, but I actually see it as a good thing. It gets people queuing up to go to the record shops. This year, you've got to go physically to the shops to get them. They're not online for a couple of weeks, are they? And I know this is a pain if you, like me, live in the middle of nowhere and you've got to catch transport and drive to find a record shop, and then you don't even know if the ones that you're really interested in are going to be in the shop, because these are very, very limited releases in many cases. But I do think it's exciting to see people passionate about the physical format. I really, really do. I don't have a problem with it. Now, some of you are saying, well, there should be more CDs. There are, but I do kind of feel that in some ways the CD is catered for by people like Cherry Red and Esoteric. I mean, the on Record Collector magazine, the back cover every month gives you an overview of what Cherry Red are doing, and it's like Record Store Day for CD enthusiasts. When you actually see what's coming out, you've got the Long Riders, you've got Hawkwind, Joel Wobble, Luther Grosvenor, Family, King's X, Trapeze, Biohazard, Judge Dredd, Philip Bailey, Joe Meek, Vandergraaf Generator, and even myself. I've had the Long Riders arrive today, and I've got the Arrows and Vandergraaf Generator. So I feel that there's a lot of stuff coming out for CD, and these are short runs. And this is the perfect vehicle for the CD, it really is. And for vinyl, there's a few things there that I looked at that I think some people will think, wow, I'd love to have that on vinyl, etc. So I don't really have a problem with it. And I think if it helps people fall in love with the physical format, then that's what it's all about. But let me know in the comments below this video, or on the website, or on social media, what you think. And try and think positively. Try and think through the eyes, as I say, of when you're a young music collector. For example, I know that for many of us, and I can't kind of change the age that I am and the history I've had and what I feel about all the stuff that's behind me, because I've been collecting for decades. But we have to remember, I saw on a group today, it was on Facebook, and it's a Facebook group for people who like to collect CDs, and it was someone saying, this is my collection so far, and I think they had about 27 CDs. And I thought that was great, because to see that there are now new people, young people coming into these kind of groups on social media and they're excited and they're enthusiastic about collecting vinyl or CD. And I think it's good. And you don't want the kind of like the village elders saying, is that all you've got? You call that a collection? A collection is more than one, isn't it? Once you've got more than one album, it's a collection. You've got something to flick through. And that's how it starts. And I think, I want to do my best here to encourage people, nurture them and support them for people who are starting out for the first time. And I think when I was a teenager, when I was a teenager and I was starting to buy records for the first time, the people think about how much older you'd need to be to have more records than me as a teenager in the 70s. That means you were a teenager in the 60s. If you'd been a teenager in the 50s, records were so new then. But now, if you're starting to collect music for the first time, you're next to people who've been collecting it for 60, 70 years, who've got vast collections. But we have to remember that instead of just moaning or whinging about, it's not the same as it used to be, that it is what it is. And as you know, from everything I do on Now Spinning, I try and be as enthusiastic and as positive as I can be. This is a haven, an escape from the news, which is always so dark, but the world of collecting music, of loving music, and just being with it and listening and just being with your collections like the one that's behind me. I remember what it was like to buy one album at a time and to just count them up, and I'd got nearly 10 records, or when you get your first 10 CDs or whatever it is. But now I imagine that people will have a few CDs and a few records, multi-format. And it's great. And it's great. And what did I see on the back of, it's in Record Collector. Ace Records are releasing Funkadelic Maggot Brain on cassette. For the first time. I doubt if it's probably the first time it has been on cassette, but it's the first time it's been on cassette in 2023, and that's coming out as a new release. Great. I think all formats are great, and it's a wonderful time, as I've said, to be alive and being into music and collecting music, because so much is out there. I'm putting together my Now Spinning magazine March Spotify playlist, because the playlists now are on the website as well, where I pick all the things I'm listening to, all the things that people have told me to listen to, all the things that are new to me that I've just discovered that I didn't think I'd like, because there is so much stuff that I thought I didn't like but I now do, thanks to all of you and all my supporters. It's been fantastic, and I was going to try and not waffle on in this episode of Chart Watch, but I have. So thank you for watching and listening. Thank you to all my podcast listeners as well. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being a patron and helping Now Spinning grow further still. I really, really appreciate it. So stay safe. Keep spinning those records. Remember, music is the healer, and I shall talk to you very, very soon.